Jai Meher Baba. Welcome everyone to Fragrance of Love, the book reading of the book Mehera and story sharing of any lovely anecdotes that any of you might have of Mehera or the Women Mandali. We read today page 32, chapter 3, Awaiting Baba's Call, early 1922 to May 1924. In 1922, Baba, who was still known as Meherwanji, began his work as Avatar of the Age. He spent the first part of the year mostly at a hut on Ferguson College Road, Pune. During this time, he was given the name Meher Baba. He also visited Upasni Maharaj at Sakori, and at the end of May 1922, Meher Baba set out walking to Mumbai with his intimate chosen men for the stay in Manzile Meem. In October 1922, Baba made a brief trip to Sakori, and this was the last time that he visited Upasni Maharaj's ashram, while Maharaj was physically present. A year later, in May 1923, the phase of Manzile Meem was finished. Baba attended the wedding of Mehra's sister Freni to Rustam K. Irani and stayed at Mehrabad with some of his mandli. While making short visits to Mehrabad between June 1923 and March 1924, Baba traveled extensively in India and also made his first visit to Persia, Iran. In late March 1924, Baba returned to Mehrabad for several months, and these few months were known as the phase of the Gamila Yoga, hard physical labor, for his new mandali. Subtitle: Daulatmai's Faith Grows, Pune 1922. As I said, my mother first heard of Baba from her sister Freni Masi, Padri's mother, who told her that Baba Jan had kissed Baba and that he was enlightened. Of course, my mother did not understand then that Baba was the avatar, but she had real love and feeling for him. In those days, Baba had few followers and very few from the Zoroastrian community. On the contrary, most of the Zoroastrians were against Baba. And although Baba was so pure, nothing was left unsaid about him. So it was very difficult at this time to have conviction and to follow Baba. Human beings are such that they can take their minds to the lowest level and also to the highest level to become God. Baba at that time was not settled at Mehrabad. He sometimes came to Pune from Bombay for a day or two and then sorry, stayed at one or the other of his lovers' houses. It was then that my mother and Baba darshan for the first time. After that, when Baba came to Pune, Vishnu Master, one of Baba's early mandli, would ride to our house on his bicycle to let my mother know that Baba had arrived. When she was not with Baba, my mother spent her evenings with Baba Jan. She had not told my sister or me about Baba, and she did not take us with her as we were still in school and busy with our schoolwork and friends. During Baba's visits to Pune, he gave darshan and his lovers sang devotional songs and offered garlands and coconuts to him. One day when program was over and all had left, Baba turned to see my mother still seated by his side. He asked her, "You are still waiting? Do you have something to ask me?" My mother had not come with any questions in her mind. She just loved to be in Baba's presence. but she felt that Baba must have a reason for asking her this. Baba gave her time to think. The first thought that came into her mind was that my sister was not at all well. Piroja, later called Franny, was not eating and she was feeling very depressed. So my mother told Baba about this. Take her to Udvada, Baba told her. Udvada is in Gujarat and is a very important place of pilgrimage for Zoroastrians. It is here that the sacred fire was brought from Persia to India, and since then it has never been extinguished. Going to Udvada was thought to be a little old fashioned, a pilgrimage that only the very orthodox made. So my mother was very surprised that Baba wanted her to do this when she had full love and faith in him. But she replied, "Yes, Baba." After some time, Baba turned again to find my mother still waiting there. He asked her, "Do you want to ask me something else?" Again, she felt that Baba must have a reason for asking her this. And this time, what came into her mind was her neighbor's daughter, Miss Todiwala's plight. As I have said, the Todiwala family, after whom the road in which we now lived was named, had a house near ours. They were a very wealthy Bombay family who spent several months in Pune every year during the racing season. Our families were very friendly, and while they were in Pune, my mother often visited them. One day it happened that the daughter of the Todiwalas was alone when my mother called, and this woman opened her heart to my mother. She told her that she was almost 40 years old, and although all the rest of her brothers and sisters were married, her family had not arranged a marriage for her. In those days in India, all marriages were arranged by the parents for their children. This poor woman was very worried about her future when her parents would no longer be there to provide her with a home. On hearing this, my mother had felt very sad and concerned about Miss Todiwala's situation, and she now explained it to Baba. Take her to Udvada, Baba told my mother. Yes, Baba, my mother replied. Although my mother was wondering how going to Udvada would help my sister and Miss Todiwala, she did not hesitate to obey him. So my mother invited Miss Todiwala to accompany us there, and she, sorry, very happily accepted our invitation. My mother did not tell Miss Todiwala that it was Baba's order, as she was a Zoroastrian. Udvada is near the sea, and it was Udvada is near the sea and it has a beautiful beach where children love to play. A long pilgrimage there is not thought to be necessary, but most people stay only there a couple of days. Pilgrims go to the big fire temple where they offer sandalwood to the sacred fire, pray, and have darshan of the fire. That is considered pilgrimage. So when we arrived in Udvada, we went to the fire temple, offered our sandalwood and prayers, and had the darshan of the sacred fire. On our second day, there we noticed that my sister's appetite had returned and that she was very cheerful. In fact, she was well again. My mother felt so happy, and she realized that the real medicine that had restored her daughter's health was not the pilgrimage, but her obedience to Baba's orders. 1 month after our return to Pune, Miss Todiwala was still single, and my mother began to worry. What to do? She's still not married. Then quietly, suddenly this woman, who was almost 40 years old and who had not had a proposal in her life, received an offer of marriage and was soon married. My mother felt so happy, and through these incidents, her faith and love for Baba grew. Baba showed my mother that when you obey him, he sees to everything. This all happened because mother obeyed Baba implicitly. That is the experience my mother had obeying Baba. Jai Baba. So we'll take a little break to share any stories of Baba's obedience with the Women Mandali or Mehera, and anything that any of you would like to share. Any
I have
stories?
one. I have one.
Sure, Meher.
This is on Mehera only. It's this thing. This is called The following poem was written by Mehra at Baba's request and was out before him to read it. All present at the Savas at Myrtle Beach in 1956. May I always be blessed by your company. I want your company at every moment of my life and only in your cause, and should this body be sacrificed. O you, the infinite or have infinite attributes, do not be indifferent to me. O Mer Baba, Guru of Gurus, I ask nothing but this last wish. I don't ask for God or for God realization powers of authority. Please don't be indifferent to me. Jai Baba. This is
Jai Baba.
by a Australian newsletter. I got this, but I got
Jai
somebody
Baba.
had sent it. Jai Baba.
Thank you so much, Meher.
Welcome,
Jai
welcome.
Baba. Yes, uh, you can raise your hand or unmute and share if anybody would like to share. Jeff, would you like to share? You're unmuted. Okay.
Could you
Yes,
repeat?
Paula.
It's Jester. No, I just wanted to say last week it reminded me when Havovi was with us. You know, it just pulled me back to India, and it pulled me back to that feeling of being with Mara and the Women Mandali, and it just feels like home. It's just the most natural, it's just home, you know? And it's the most wonderful feeling. And it was so wonderful to feel that again with Havovi. It was just like being there. Hmm.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you. Yes, I hope Hawabi Auntie joins us later. Yes. Sorry, Jeff, were you wanting to share something? You had got unmuted. You're on mute now.
I'm really mostly listening to the beautiful words of his life. It's really
Sorry. All right, so we will get back to the reading, and in case later again, once we start sharing, we continue. It was after this that my mother took us to Sakori, where I first saw Baba. She could not take us to Baba as he was not settled in one place. But she wanted us to be in a spiritual atmosphere, and she knew there were other young girls at Sakori. It was by beloved Baba's grace that we had left my grandparents' house when we did and moved to Todiwala Road. As my mother's love for Baba and Baba Jan grew, so did the opposition from her family grow. Her family had no understanding of spiritual things and were like the Zoroastrian community at that time, not at all for Baba. So it would have been very difficult for my mother to freely go to Baba and Baba Jan had we still been staying in that same house. My uncle Colonel Mervan Sorab Irani, he had the same initials as Baba, who, as I mentioned before, was serving in an Aden hospital, would return to Pune for some months on leave every 2 years. This brother was a very fine man who moved in the best society. Out of all his family, he loved my mother the most, and she loved him. As I have said, when my father died, he immediately took leave and came to Pune from Aden to console my mother. And from that time, he gave her much helpful advice in financial matters and also loving support. She always followed his advice and looked up at him. He now returned from Aden to hear from our family that my mother was visiting Baba Jan and also Meher Baba. When he was in Pune, the family poisoned his ears. Daulat is sitting on the street with an old Muslim woman and even going to this Parsi Meher Baba. They told him. My uncle came to Todiwala Road feeling very upset and said to my mother, I hear you're visiting sadhus. Why do you want to do that? Why do you need to? Are you short of money? He also had no understanding of spirituality, and he felt that one went to saints only to ask for material benefits. He continued, all this time I have looked after you and loved you. Why do you go after these saints and sadhus? We have Zoroaster to pray to. If you want your daughters to be married, I will look after that. I'm friendly with many influential people and I will see to everything. My mother explained, I am only going to them for spiritual reasons. I find peace being with them. Colonel Irani became very angry. He told her, they are false and frauds. There's nothing spiritual about them, and they will swindle you. My mother replied, you may say anything you like, but in this, I will not listen to you. I will not give this up. He was so upset that at this point he left his chair and turning around saw Baba's lovely photo sitting on the piano. Somehow, my uncle recognized Baba. Who is this? He asked. Isn't that the one they call Meher Baba? Yes, that is he, and we love him and follow him. Don't you know? He is the ringleader of a gang, my uncle asked. He is a disciple of Upasni Maharaj and he is God realized, my mother told him. It had happened that my uncle, when in Aden, had bailed an Irani out of jail who was being held on some charge. Being an Irani himself, my uncle had felt embarrassed for this man when he had heard of his imprisonment. This person had been a Baba follower from the very beginning, but he did not have a good reputation. And this added to my uncle's already bad impression of Baba and his followers. He did not know who Baba was, and that he was for both saints and also sinners. He really believed that my mother was making a terrible mistake, and because of his deep love for her, he did his best to dissuade her from following Baba. But my mother would not budge. I will stick to Meher Baba, she told him. I love him and want to serve him and be in his ashram. My uncle left very upset, and we did not see him again at that time. Later on, some time after my mother and I had come to stay with Baba at Meherabad, my uncle came to see us there. Baba asked my mother and me to meet him. My uncle was amazed to see us living in such a simple, quiet place. He was standing beside his car with a cane in his hand. What are you doing in this wilderness, Daulat? He asked my mother. There are no trees, no compound, nothing. How can you bring your young daughter here with all these men around? Still having no understanding of who Baba is, he demanded that we return to Pune with him. But my mother was very strong, and we stayed on at Meherabad. By this time, my uncle had returned from Aden to settle in Pune. His marriage had not been a fortunate one, and his wife had gone back to live with her family. He loved my mother and wanted us all to live with him and be his family, and he thought that when we girls married, he would have sons in law too. Not only did he want to take my mother away because he felt she had been duped, he also felt very hurt that she had chosen to stay with Baba instead of with him. He felt she no longer loved him. He had no idea how fortunate we were to be with Baba. Because of all these feelings, my uncle began to publish derogatory articles about Baba in the newspapers and Gujarati magazines. My mother felt very upset about her brother's behavior, but Baba told her that her brother was in fact helping him, saying, "This is all according to my will. No one would be interested if he wrote favorable things about me, but by writing against me, my name is spread throughout." Now, we go back a little to the time in 1922 when I first saw Baba in Sakori. Baba's aunt Daula Masi, she my sister, also visited Upasni Maharaj's ashram while we were there. On seeing my sister, who was then 19 years old, she asked my mother if she wanted her elder daughter to be married. Daula Masi had in mind Rustam Ke Khashru Irani, Gulmai's son and Adi Ke Irani's brother from Ahmednagar. My mother asked her, "Is he following this path?" By which she meant, was he spiritually inclined? He is a Baba lover and a fine person. If you see the boy, you will like him. He is in Bombay with Baba in Manzil Meem. Daula Masi told my mother. It will be a very nice match for Piroja. These Iranis are a very good family and are well respected in Ahmednagar. Then my mother felt very happy with the match. So she and Daula Masi went to Upasni Maharaj, who, on being asked, was also quite pleased with it. He allowed the three of them, my mother Piroja and Daula Masi, to go to Bombay to discuss the matter with Baba in Manzil Meem, while I stayed on at Sakori. At Manzil Meem, they greeted Baba and had his darshan. After being told, Baba was also agreeable to the match. "Call Rustam," he said. "They must see each other." So Rustam and Piroja met each other and agreed to marry. In early March 1923, my sister's engagement to Rustam was held in Manzil Meem in Baba's presence. Up till then, my sister's name had been Piroja, but at Manzil Meem, Baba changed it to Freni. Baba had had a younger sister called Freni whom he had dearly loved, but she had died when she was still a child. Now Baba said to my sister, "I loved my sister Freni very much, and I give you her name, Freni." And so from that day, my sister was called Freni. The wedding was to take place in Ahmednagar, where Rustam's family lived on 9th May 1923. Rustam had told Baba that he would marry only if Baba attended the wedding, and Baba had promised to come. This is why Baba left Manzil-e-Meem and came to Ahmednagar. My mother was very busy making arrangements for the wedding, so I stayed on at Sakori with Freni Masi. Rustam had arranged for Baba and his mandli from Manzil-e-Meem to stay at what was then called Kushru Quarters and which now is the trust office and named Meher. It was owned at that time by Rustam's family, though they stayed not there but in a new three-story house nearby called Sarosh Manzil. Kushru quarters had been empty for some time and was rather dilapidated and in need of repair. When Baba and his party arrived in Ahmednagar, some days before the wedding, the repairs had not been finished and they could not stay there. Rustam then arranged for Baba to stay for a few days at Happy Valley near what is now Mehrazad, and a place where Ram and Sita had rested so long ago. When Kushru quarters was ready, Baba with his mandli returned to Ahmednagar. They stayed at Kushru quarters, and a few wedding guests who were close family members or friends stayed with Rustam's family at Sarosh Manzil. The rest of the guests stayed at the nearby Parsi Fire Temple, which has space for many guests. Now, Adike Irani was staying not with Baba at Kushru quarters, but with his family at Sarosh Manzil. Every morning, Adi would come to visit Baba, and Baba would ask him for any news. On this particular morning, Adi told Baba that a guest had made some derogatory remarks about Baba. I do not know what they were. I was not there. I only know the gist of it. Baba was very upset. I've been invited to this wedding. I've only come here to please Rustam, and they behave like this. Baba immediately got up and started to walk out of the compound. It was early morning, just after breakfast, and the Mandli were not yet ready for the day. Some were in the bathroom, some just finishing their tea. Their tea glasses, bracket, they had their tea in aluminum glasses, bracket close, were dirty, and their bedding rolls were untied. Those who saw Baba leaving shouted to the others, "Come quickly, Baba has left." They were frightened that they would lose sight of Baba, and they came running from everywhere, out of bathrooms and bedrooms, stuffing dirty glasses and plates into their bags and hastily tying up bedding rolls. After Baba, they all came running, and they caught up with him on Station Road. It was just after the First World War, and at that time it was so quiet. There were no motor cars, no buses, no trucks in sight. Occasionally, a bullock cart would pass by, or a bicycle, or two or three people. There was no traffic and hardly any houses along that road. Baba was walking very quickly along this road, which leads to the railway station. The Mandli thought that Baba, because he was so upset, would leave Ahmednagar. But then they came to the fork in the road. Baba did not continue straight ahead towards the station, but paused for a second and turned to the left. Now they decided that he was taking them to Don, the next town along this road, and many miles away. But after 5 or 6 miles, Baba stopped under a neem tree, around which a stone seat had been made. Nearby was a well, and after Baba rested there a while, he said, "We are thirsty. The well is so close, but how shall we draw water from it? Ask the first person you see to bring us a rope and a bucket." One man came by, and the Mandli stopped him and told him, "We need some water. Please help us. Bring a pail and a rope so we can draw drinking water from this well." So this man ran to his home in nearby Arangaon village, and he brought the bucket and rope. Baba and all the Mandli had some water. This man was a Hindu, and he was very fortunate to serve Baba like this. His name was Mr. Patel, and he became quite devoted to Baba. It was his bullocks that later pulled Baba's car out of a bog in Toka. Then it began to get dark, and Baba said, "We need some light. Ask the next person you see to bring us a lantern." Another man came by, and when asked for a lantern, he ran to the village and brought Baba a lantern. Baba blessed this man and said, "May there always be light in your house." This man was a converted Christian. By this time, Rustam had discovered that Baba had left Kushru quarters, and he began to search frantically for him, asking everyone, "Have you seen a man who looks like this?" describing Baba. Eventually, someone pointed Rustam towards Arangaon. Rustam was so relieved that Baba had not left by train. He followed the road until he found Baba. Baba, if you don't come back to Ahmednagar, I won't marry. You promised you would be there, so please, Baba, forgive those people. At least come to the wedding, he begged. So Baba returned to Ahmednagar and he did not stay in Khushru quarters where he had previously been, but at Sarosh Manzil in the very top room. It was a lovely little room with its own entrance, so the Mandli could come and go and bring Baba his meals. As all four sides of the room were half glass and half wall, it had a bird's eye view of Ahmednagar. Baba attended the wedding and Rustam felt happy. Jai Baba. So, anyone, any sharing, any quote you would like to share some quote or something so that we can take little breaks from the reading, enjoy the stories of the women Mandli and Mehra. Okay, I guess we will continue the read. Subtitled Deciding My Destiny, May 1923. I did not attend my sister's wedding, and this is how that happened. As I have said prior to the wedding, my mother was very busy with all the arrangements to be made, and so she had me stay at Sakori at Upasni Maharaj's ashram. Just before my mother came to Sakori to take me to Ahmednagar for the wedding, my knee quite suddenly became very swollen, and it was so painful that I could hardly walk. I had not fallen and nothing had happened to cause this swelling. It had just appeared. Maharaj told me to have Durga Mai, the woman disciple who had been sent to Upasni Maharaj from Sai Baba, put some warm poultices on it, but they did not help the swelling. When my mother arrived to take me to Ahmednagar for the wedding, Maharaj told her, but she can't walk and she's limping badly. How is she going to attend the wedding? And she's quite happy here. Why do you want to take her? Won't the marriage take place without her? Anyway, it wouldn't look nice for her to limp in a sari on such a fine occasion. Maharaj showed his disinclination to send me, and my mother did not want to disobey him. She knew not to go against the wishes of a perfect master, so she agreed to leave me at Sakori, although it was very awkward for her to do this. It was my only sister's wedding, and the whole family would wonder where I was. So I was not at the wedding. The next part is awkward for me to this next part is awkward for me to tell, but I have to as it explains why I was not to attend my sister's wedding. There was a young man, some relative on my father's side, who had not seen me since I was 8 years old. After that, we had had no connection with each other. We never met, although he may have once seen me from afar at a wedding when I was 14. Now, his family felt that it would be convenient if he and a suitable girl announced their engagement at my sister's wedding, as our families would be present there. In those days, there was no courtship as there is in the West. When a suitable match was arranged, the engagement was quickly announced, and at that time, gifts and rings were exchanged. When the boy's family asked him whom he wanted to marry, he gave my name. And they came to the wedding with a gold ring and a gold sari and other engagement gifts, but I was not there. Now, amongst Zoroastrians, another little ceremony takes place about 8 days after the wedding, where the bride and bridegroom put sweets in each other's mouths and also perform some other rituals. Baba had returned to Meherabad after the wedding, and before this next ceremony, my mother visited him there for darshan. Baba asked, whether I would be coming for this ceremony, and my mother replied, no, Upasni Maharaj would not let her come to the wedding, so he would not want her to come for this. Baba told her, tell Upasni Maharaj that she is your daughter and bring her. My mother was so scared. How was she going to say this to Upasni Maharaj? But she said yes to Baba. She did not realize it, but Baba was testing her to see if it was to be Maharaj's word or Baba's word. Whom would she please? So my mother came to Sakori with her heart in her mouth. She asked for a private audience with Maharaj, and they met and talked a little. Then Maharaj asked her why she had come. She replied, I've come to take Mehra with me for the ceremony in Ahmednagar. And Maharaj said, yes, you can take her. Baba knew that Upasni Maharaj would agree, but he wanted to see if my mother would obey Baba. Now, this is what happened next. After my mother brought me to Ahmednagar, where we stayed at Sarosh Manzil, Baba's message came from Meherabad to say, that Baba's mother Shirin Mai, Gul Mai, Adi K. Irani's mother, and my mother, Baba's aunt Daula Masi, my sister, and myself were to come to Meherabad for his darshan. This is the very first time that I was to bow down to beloved Baba and have his darshan. When we arrived at the post office near the railway line, Baba was at what is now called the old Dharamshala. We waited outside, and when Baba was told that we had come, he came walking very fast across the road and field to meet us. Baba looked very beautiful striding across the field. His hair, lovely brown shining hair, was quite short, and he was wearing a sadra and a kerchief on his head. Baba quickly entered the post office, where there was no furniture at all, just a big cotton carpet on the floor. Baba told us all to come inside. This was in May 1923, and Baba was still talking at that time. Baba's mother greeted him first. She did not bow down to Baba, but she did join her hands and then sat in front of him. Gulmai and my mother took darshan next. Then my sister took darshan, followed by Baba's aunt. I saw how they were taking darshan, and so I took Baba's darshan too. Last, of course, but I was very shy at that time. Baba's face was so lovely. Just one little glance at him, and I felt so happy. Then I sat on the edge of the circle facing him. So this was the first time I saw Baba properly and had his darshan. Baba asked, have all the guests gone? How many have gone and who is left? And my mother replied, only the boy's aunt is still there, meaning the boy who wanted to marry me. The rest of his family have all gone. Baba said, good. And he then asked my mother whether she wanted me to marry this boy. My mother said, yes, it's a very good match. My mother wanted to get both her daughters married and settled so that she would be free to come to stay with Baba and to serve him. Then Shirin Mai gave her opinion, and then Dola Masi said something. Then Baba said something, and Shirin Mai started to argue a little with Baba, asking him, why, Merwan, do you say that? She always called Baba Merwan or Merog. And so it went on. It was a serious issue, and they were all discussing it quite hotly until Baba said, why are you all arguing? Why don't you ask Mehra what she wants to do? It's for her to decide. Everyone turned and looked at me. I felt very embarrassed because they were all suddenly staring at me instead of concentrating on Baba. But I felt firm about what to say. I mustered up all my courage and said, I don't want to marry. What? The older women exclaimed, and they looked at me as if I'd gone a little mad. What did she say? They all looked at each other. All right, not this person, then some other person. No, I said. No other person. I don't want to marry at all. Did you hear what she said? Baba asked all the women. Leave it like that. Don't try to persuade her or coax her, and don't bring up the subject again. So I was quite free. These were Baba's orders. How Upasni Maharaj and Baba had saved me. Maharaj from the wedding where I would have been on my own with my family and the boy's family pushing me to marry, and Baba from my having to stand up to my elders alone. Baba decided my destiny with all of us in front of him. Subheading Baba's Call, May 1923 to May 1924. 3 or 4 days after this meeting with Baba at the post office, we all set off by train for Pune. By we, I mean Baba's mother, Daula Masi, the boy's aunt, my mother, myself, and perhaps Gulmai. The train started from the Ahmednagar station, and after some minutes, someone said, "Oh, Mehrabad has come, and we can see Baba." I could not believe that I was seeing Mehrabad from the train. I leaned out the window and saw Baba standing near a wire boundary along the railway track. As the train came near, Baba looked so sweet in his white sadra with the sun shining on him. We were all waving to him, and he was waving to us. And we kept waving to Baba as the train passed by until he became so tiny we could hardly see him. And still he waved to us. Then in August 1923, Baba came to Pune, and my mother and I went for his darshan. Baba asked me whether there was anything personal that I wanted to speak to him about, but as I could not think of anything, I replied, "No, Baba." I'll just have some water. Jai Baba. Baba then said, "Do you keep fasts?" I replied, "Yes, Baba. I fast on Ekadasi, 10th lunar day according to Hindu calendar. But I'm never quite sure when it is." So Baba told me, "Never mind. From now on, keep fast every Hormuz Roj and Behram Roj, 1st and 12th days of the month according to the Zoroastrian calendar." And this I did for many years. As I have said, by now my mother's love for and faith in Baba were such that she wanted to serve him and to be with him always. So when she went to take Baba's darshan, she told him, "Baba, I want to stay with you and serve you always." Baba replied, "How can you serve me? I'm not staying in one place. But when I do decide to stay in one place, then I will call you." Then I went to Ahmednagar from Pune to stay with my sister Freni, who was now married to Rustam. Baba was still traveling, but I did have his darshan once at Khushru quarters when he stopped at Meherabad for a brief time. Staying with my sister, I found that I did not like family life. Somehow I felt aloof from it. And when Gulmai had visited Sakori, I went with her. We wanted to stay with Baba, but as I have said, in those very early days, Baba had no women mandali and he was not settled anywhere. I liked the life at Sakori and the atmosphere there. It was so different from family life. There was devotional singing, arti, and meetings with Upasni Maharaj. Upas means fast, and Maharaj means great king. So Upasni Maharaj means the great king who fasted. He was given this name because he fasted for a very long time before he received God realization from Sai Baba. The young Brahmin girls who stayed in the ashram sang songs and played on their drums in the temple. I too joined them and learned to play the little drum called a dholak, the kind that Baba used to play. And we would sing Mirabai songs and Krishna songs, Upasni Maharaj's songs, and Sai Baba songs. We were all just girls. There were no men with us. And while I was there, I also helped to build some small huts for the ashram. Small Khorshid, Suna Masi's daughter, was also there and we kept each other company. One day we all One day we were all in Maharaj's hut, ready for Aarti, when a Brahmin woman came to Maharaj and offered him a gold ring. This woman wanted to put it on Maharaj's finger as a bond and expression of love. She tried to take his hand, but Maharaj got upset and refused to permit it, saying, "What are you trying to do? Can't you see I'm wearing a gunny sack? I'm a fakir, and you want me to wear a gold ring?" She replied, "Maharaj, I'm offering this to you." He told her, "I don't want any gold. Put it down." She looked so dejected that Maharaj finally told her to put the ring on his little toe. After Aarti, the men took darshan and left. Then it was the women's turn. Darshan means bowing down and putting one's head on Maharaj's feet, then joining hands to him. The ring was still on his toe, and the Brahmin girls this time were taking longer to bow down, and they were lingering afterwards. I felt inside that they were wondering to whom Maharaj would give the ring, and that each one was hoping it would be she. After most of the girls had taken darshan, I approached Maharaj. As I lifted my head after darshan, Maharaj said, "Wait." He took the ring off his toe and put it on my finger. He told me, "Keep it on, wear it, and never take it off." I was very surprised, and he had given it to me, but it fitted my finger perfectly. I bowed to Maharaj and left. A little later, at the beginning of 1924, while I was still at Sakori, Baba went to stay at the Bharucha building in Dadar, a suburb of Bombay. Soon after, Baba sent Gulmai to Sakori to bring small Khorshid and myself to Bombay to be near him. When Gulmai told me the news that we were to go to Bombay, I went to say goodbye to Basni Maharaj and have his darshan. As I was leaving, Durga Mai told me not to go. She said that the ring had been given by Maharaj to me and that I should stay. But I insisted on going to Baba. In Bombay, we stayed at small Khorshid's parents' house in Irani's mansion, Dadar, and my mother joined us there from Pune. In the evenings, we went to Bharucha building to be with Baba, and there we would see Gustadji combing Baba's golden brown shining hair. How we admired his lovely hair, so soft and full, and how we stared at his beauty. I remember one day, Baba with Gustadji came to Irani mansions and he asked Khorshid to sing and play the harmonium for him. Gustadji sang too, and Baba enjoyed the singing, swaying his head to the rhythm of the music. Before Baba left, we served him tea. Baba now left for Persia, and my mother and my sister and I returned to our home on Todiwala Road, Pune. In the evenings, we would sit with Baba Jan. Many of her followers sat with her, and then because they had to go to work in the mornings, we went in the evening for a different reason. It shocked the Zoroastrian community to see us sitting with Baba Jan, whom they were also against. Zoroastrians coming and going along the road where Baba Jan was seated recognized us in broad daylight, and they would say to each other, "What are they doing here? Why are they sitting with this old woman instead of going to the fire temple?" My mother's reply was, "Never mind, let them say what they like. We don't care." She was not afraid, and she did go to Baba Jan in the mornings to take fruit and vegetables from the nearby markets. Freni Masi who was close to Baba Jan, went with her. Baba Jan was seated on a seat that Baba had made for her after he was God realized and had come from Sakori. She was on a very advanced age now, and it was not good for her to sit on the ground in all weather. As is in the Indian custom, the men devotees sat on one side of her and the women on the other. Baba Jan always sat so that she was turned more towards the men. People brought food for her, and Baba Jan used to send someone to bring tea from a nearby tea stall. She often gave each one prasad and sometimes hot tea too. On many evenings, Qawwali songs were sung. It was a very beautiful sight. We never referred to Baba Jan as she, but always as Baba Jan. Inwardly, Baba Jan was so strong. She was stronger than any man. She was like an emperor. She looked so beautiful with her fair skin and bluish eyes. Baba Jan hardly spoke, and when she did it was very softly. People would talk to her, and she would sit and listen and nod her head, sometimes turning to see who was sitting amongst the women. I remember one evening when Baba Jan turned to look at the women. She looked at each one and then a little longer at me. I was so surprised that she would look at me, and I felt very shy. Baba Jan hardly ever smiled, and now, as she looked at me, she had a slight, very sweet smile on her face, as if she knew me. Then Baba Jan turned away. One evening after Baba returned from Persia, a car stopped near the gate of our house on Todiwala Road. Someone came up the drive to our door and said, Baba wants you to come to the car. My mother and I were so happy as we ran to Baba's car. It was almost dark, and we could see Baba's white sadra glowing as we drew near his car. Baba did not get out, but allowed us to bow down to kiss his feet. He and my mother then spoke for perhaps 5 minutes. Baba was on his way somewhere, and he had stopped so we could greet him. So Baba never came inside our house in Pune, but we had his darshan outside the gate. My sister was now pregnant with her first child, and when she was near her time, she came to stay with us in Pune. It is our custom that a daughter returns to her mother for the birth of her first child so that she can be looked after properly and be taught how to take care of the baby. Frani gave birth to her first child. Frani gave birth to her first child in the late April 1924 in the same ward, in the same hospital, Sassoon Hospital, that Baba had been born in 30 years earlier. Within days of the birth, a telegram came from Baba at Meherabad saying, Come as soon as possible. He also instructed us to bring only one trunk of clothes, which was to last a whole year, and our bedding. We were so happy. Apologies. Jebel. Within days of the birth, a telegram came from Baba at Meherabad saying, Come as soon as possible. He also instructed us to bring only one trunk of clothes, which was to last a whole year, and our bedding. We were so happy and also very busy. My mother quickly bought material and had the tailors make us new cotton clothes, and she bought new cotton saris for us and so on. There was much to do, but as Baba had said, as soon as possible. When the baby was about 10 days old, we locked the front door of our house with a big padlock and, with only telling our servants that we were going to another place, left everything behind us to come to Baba for good. We thought just of Baba. Nothing else is important when you are coming to him. On arriving in Ahmednagar, we received a big welcome from Rustam's family as we were bringing home a firstborn son. We settled Freni and the baby at Khushru quarters and went to Mehrabad for Baba's darshan. In the middle of May 1924, we went to stay in the bathing rooms at Mehrabad. Baba sent Rustam to Pune to settle our affairs. Rustam, after seeing the white horse, informed Baba that it would be a pity to sell such a beautiful horse. So Baba had Rustam bring him to Mehrabad. Baba decided to name him Sufi. And I heard that when the horse arrived at Mehrabad, Baba blessed him, put vermilion on his forehead, and sat on his back for a minute or two. Putting vermilion on the forehead, in the center of the forehead, is an auspicious sign for Zoroastrians, Hindus as well, as a sign of victory, as a sign of welcome or good luck. Sufi stayed at Mehrabad for a short time and then Baba sent him to Ahmednagar, to Khushru quarters, to be used as a carriage horse. When we were staying at Khushru quarters later in 1924, we sometimes rode in a carriage drawn by Sufi, but he was not a very good carriage horse. He was much too spirited and he liked to kick the bottom of the carriage as we rode along in it. So that is the story of Sufi, the white horse. How blessed he was to have had the white horse avatar sit on his back. And Baba kept his promise to my mother to call us the very first women at Mehrabad to stay with him for good. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. This is the end of chapter 3. Anybody you would like to unmute, please unmute and you can share.
Yeah. That was beautiful reading, Roshani. Thank you. Huh.
Lovely.
You know, something I was wondering about, you know, how Baba works through with everyone and through everything. And he continues to uncover pieces of the puzzle for us. But that Mehera was shockingly allowed to say for herself what she wanted in her life at that time was only divine. Otherwise not possible. Huh. I'm glad to see, yeah, I'm glad to see Rosalie. I had something I wanted to say to her. I wonder if
Jai
she
Baba
can hear me.
Rosalie.
Jai
Hey,
Baba.
Baba.
Rosalie, can you hear me? I was
Yeah.
thinking about what you said last week, about how awful you felt when how you didn't want to displease Mehera when you asked for Baba's hair, and how sad that made you feel. And I thought about that and I thought, you know, I think it's like Baba and Mehera gave you a great opportunity. You didn't disobey Baba, you obeyed him.
Oh, yeah.
Because you held it in and you did please her and you did please Baba.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I already had Baba's hair because she had given it to me in my first visit. She had rolled Baba's young hair up like a little curl to put in a case. And I thought, oh, I want one of the, so that was it. But it was very clear, when she says, oh, what do you think? I have nothing to do with my time and blah, 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 and it's heard Baba's voice say, "Don't make Mehera unhappy," because I felt like I was looking out a porthole and I'd see the ocean coming up, and so then it went down. And yeah.
I know, but it was like you did obey Baba. You didn't make her unhappy. You held it in, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
That would be really, it would be like holding
Yeah,
the
no, it was kind of out of my control. I
Well,
was so shocked.
Yeah, I just thought that was really, really beautiful that Baba gave you that opportunity to obey him.
Oh yeah. It absolutely did not want her unhappy.
Right.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was cool. Oh.
Would you like to hear something from me while you take a rest from reading?
Sure.
This is one of my favorite pictures of Mehera.
That's
Yes,
beautiful.
somebody wanted to share.
It's Mandy here in London.
Yes, Mandy. Please.
Hi. I just thought there's a few things that are lovely, but I just came when I saw the picture of Mehera then, I just wanted to say that I have a 51-year-old daughter. And when she was born, I called her Hera, Hera. And it was a few months ago, I suddenly realized that before I even knew about Meher Baba, I had called my daughter Hera, Mehera, with the me, Hera.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful.
So
And
beautiful.
it took me all these years to realize that her name was partly Mehera's.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
And
Thank you,
also
Mandy.
I have just briefly, I don't want to take up your time, but
No,
briefly.
please. We are sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
okay.
We are in the
Well,
sharing zone, so please continue.
Oh, okay. So I also had an aha moment, a Meher Baba aha moment. I have during the pandemic, I got a border collie puppy. And I suddenly realized when I looked at her details, she was born on the 10th of July on Silence Day. So that's very nice for me.
How lovely.
Yeah.
Baba's kindness, compassion, and love just,
It's wonderful.
comes up in such myriad ways that we can't even imagine.
Absolutely. Also, I, as a child, I lived in a hotel called the White Horse Hotel. So beautiful.
And it's so sweet. We just read about this carriage thing. So a few days back, I was watching Sleeping Beauty on one of these OTT platforms, and she's a wild horse, and she's completely black, and has only a white star, and it just
Black Beauty,
reminds
Black Beauty.
Black
Black
Beauty.
Beauty, yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. So sorry. And I was just imagining it with when she is sold to different people, and she's sold to this carriage drawing guy, and how she's talking to herself about not liking drawing carriages and missing the girl. And at that time, I was having these thoughts about Baba with the white horse, and whether Mehera ever rode like literally like ride the horse after she being a young girl, and whether that horse ever became a carriage drawing horse. And it's so wonderful to just read over here that it really did. And it is the same thing that Sufi didn't like drawing the carriage, so
No.
it just so sweet. Yeah. Yeah.
if you would like, I'd like to tell you about how I came to Baba. Would that be
Please,
suitable or
of
not?
course. Sure, sure, please.
Well, I have a friend, and many years ago, about 24 years ago, she was always doing crystals. And she rang me one day and she said to me, I've made a pyramid out of copper hollow piping, filled it with crystals, and I would like someone to lie underneath it to see what would happen. She'd aligned it up or whatever. So I said, of course. So I went to her house. I lay under this copper crystal filled pyramid, and almost immediately I had this vision, and it was of this wonderful looking man with dark flowing hair and a long white robe on a path. And he was saying, my name is Aaron, and I've come to tell you everything is a joke, that nothing is real, everything is a joke. And I started laughing. And then he told me a joke. And I have it written down somewhere, but it's something like, what do you call a mouse without a house? Houseless. And it wasn't really funny, but I just started laughing. And then he said, what do you call a dog without a bone? Boneless. And I just started laughing and I could not stop. And my friend who was sitting outside the pyramid was holding my shoulders and she started laughing. Well, we laughed for about, it must have been 10 minutes, absolutely weeping with laughter. And then I told her what had happened. And that was it, basically. She said, wow, that's my pyramid. Anyway, I can't remember the time scale, but not long afterwards, I met Susie Biddu. You know Susie Biddu? Everybody knows Susie?
I know her.
Yeah,
Yes.
at a ladies' lunch. And I didn't even know her. And she suddenly pointed to me and she said, I'm going to send you a book. And she sent me a book. And on the front of it was this picture of an old man. And I opened it up and I thought, I don't know what this is about. It's all extraordinary. And I just left it in a corner somewhere. And about 2 weeks later, I think I rang and said, thank you. And she said, I'm going to India in 3 weeks' time. Why don't you come with me? And I heard myself say, yeah, okay. And I didn't even know why I said yes. I put the phone down. Anyway, I don't want to make it too long. We went to India. I'd only met her a couple of times before that. We went to the Pilgrim Center.
What
We
year are you
walked,
talking about? What year?
this is about 95, 94, 6, something like that.
Okay.
And I walked into the dining room and I said, oh, there's a picture. I've seen that man in a vision. That's Aaron. There was the very picture I'd seen in my vision of Baba. And she said, no, that's Meher Baba. That's the book I sent you. And I said, well, he looked like an old man. She said, well, that's when he was young. Anyway, and then we sat down and as you do, you chat and someone says to me, well, he probably said his name was Meherwan, but I didn't know such funny names. So I thought he said Aaron.
Yeah.
So it goes on, but
Sweet.
I'll leave it there because I don't want to hog the time, as it were.
No,
But it's very, very lovely.
that's so
I was so
sweet.
lucky.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you so
It's
much.
always
So,
lovely to repeat it.
yes. So do you have any story to share with you and being with, have you met Mehra or any of the women Mandali?
I didn't meet Mehera because she was already passed, I think.
Okay.
But I did meet Marnie and
Yeah.
Erich. And Bauji, I knew very well. He came to London and I saw him a lot in London. Wonderful people. And oh yes, and I remember another sweet story that it was Aloba, I think, who was, I didn't know anything about
Thank you.
Meher Baba or the pilgrims to anything. And someone said, you know, people buy garlands to garland this in the Samadhi. So I bought this very beautiful garland. I better do the absolute best I can. And I was standing in the queue, you know, to sort of get darshan and to, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing. And this little man in front of me turned round and he took my garland and he went in and put it on the Samadhi. And everybody started laughing because I thought, well, he's taken my garland. So what am I supposed to do? So the person behind me gave me theirs. And then the person behind me gave me theirs. And apparently that was a loba. And he just kept saying Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba. And I thought, what on earth is going on here? But of course, it was just like, I don't know, it was just like being home or something extraordinary. And it just went on and on and on. And Meher Baba's bedroom, I had just painted my room and my home exactly the same colors, the pink walls, the blue ceiling, the yellow. Yeah, I mean, it just went on and on.
Lovely.
So it was very, very lucky and I was so happy. I still am. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
I'm sharing this image of the family tree of Gulmai and Daulat Irani families.
Ah,
This is connected to Mehra, and it's so, you know, beautiful to see this so that we know who's where. So father, mother. Then there is Sunamasi, Minocher Irani, and Gulma Irani. Then Sunamasi married to Kakashtu Behram Irani and mother Khorshid Irani. Then we have Gulma Irani married to Kakashtu Sarosh Irani. Then there is Salamat Irani, but we do not know who.
Gulmai
Yeah,
and Dalit are sisters. Is that it? Sisters?
sorry,
Gulmai and Dalit are sisters. Are they sisters?
No,
Gulma and
What's their
Gulma.
no,
relation?
I don't think they are sisters. I don't.
No, Gulma is Sunamasi's sister.
Oh,
Look up at the top, Gulma and Sunamasi.
Yeah.
why do they put those two together? That's strange. I don't know.
So I think maybe connected to Mehra's life, Gulmai and Daulat Irani's families, because Daulat Irani comes right here, Daulat Sohrab Irani.
Yeah.
Married to Jahangir Ormasji Irani. And then there is Freni, Mehra, and Kersas. So that's Mehra's younger brother, Kersas Irani. And Rustam K. Irani and Freni Irani, that's Piroja's family, is Mehlu, Mehru, Falu, Naggu, Behram, and Jangu. And then there is another Navroj driver who is married, Freni S. Irani, and the children are Faredun driver, Kaki driver, Homi driver, and Rusi driver. Okay.
Very down. There's Padre.
Yeah. All right. So anybody else would like to share? Rosalie, I'm sure you have some lovely stories.
Yeah, I have stories. I had the great grace of performing for Mehra.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, Mehra, she would give me time. It was kind of before they had the big plays, and it's just like she just drew. She was very supportive of women, very supportive, and I remember it brought out my creativity. And my first time in India was 1976, and I was there for 4 months, and every day was full. And when it came time for Mehera's birthday, I don't know. Oh yes, I did perform on her birthday. It was at Mehrabad, and I did a dance. It was a comedy. It was comic with Laurel McGreeny. If you know Laurel, has anyone met Laurel McGreeny? Was in India a lot, and we did the dance of the divine romance, and we did it across from Mansari's kitchen by the Gaudi. And Mehera found it so funny that Mehru came towards me the next day, and she says, "You must do that again. You must do it again." And I said, "I don't know." Mehera said it was too funny. She says, "That's just her English." She means she liked it very much. And I said, "Well, I can't just do it with someone that doesn't have a sense of comedy." And she kept mentioning people, "Do it with this person and that person." I thought, Mehru, I said, "I'll do something else, you know." So then I started, I did a rewrite on a fairy tale about Pinocchio. I don't know if it's popular, the little boy whose nose grew long when he didn't tell the truth. And I was, it wasn't Pinocchio, it was Ego Nocchio. So I got to play it in Mandali Hall, and I had other people like Jack Small was in it, and he played Jack Small, Master of None. I don't know, it's like these plays on all these words. And Adi Rani, there were so many Mandali then. So Adi Rani was, anyway, everyone was included. And Jiminy Cricket, which represented conscience in the play, was Alaba. Had Alaba's character. At any rate, Mehera absolutely loved it, and we made her a special brochure so she could follow the story. But I remember we did it in Mandali Hall, and I could remember looking out and seeing Mehera. I always wanted to see Mehera as I was acting. So it was just a moment, and her face was just, it was like she was on the edge of her seat, and just so intently into the play is all I could say. Just there was just incredible joy to seeing her face like that. And after that was just before I left India, early January of it was just such a to please Mehera was totally like pleasing Baba for me. I knew Baba was pleased. Mehera, and also I didn't meet her till 76. She was, of course, she was incredibly grieved. She missed Baba, his physical, beautiful presence. And I in a way, I'm sort of, it worked out well because I could make her laugh. So that was good. That was good. That because she was so grieved, she used to cry a lot. I heard people would tell me, you know, because so that was like about 6 or 7 years after Baba dropped his body. So, you know, it was just like a special privilege. And every chance I got, I would, you know, think of a performance, and she always would give me time. She would give me time, and I, you know, I met her in the samadhi. There was no talking, you know, she had come for arti. And then I met her on the porch where it seemed more human or more, you know, more regular. But I do feel that Baba wanted me to see that she only stayed because she felt Baba wanted her to stay. Otherwise, you know, she was so with Baba. Yeah. So it's just such a lesson. And to me, she felt like a constant job. Like it just seemed like she was so focused on Baba that she could be repeating his name, you know, absolute focus on God, you know, like, whoa. And of course, it was wonderful. She loved Laurel and Hardy. I remember in Mandali Hall, they brought a film because they knew she loved Laurel and Hardy. And when you think of it, Laurel and Hardy are very human. And they actually have a nice relationship, frustration, but they love each other. You can see that in their masterful films. Well, yeah, I sat to a film so I could hear Mehera laugh. And her laughter was so incredible, just really like a bell or something, like just a pure sound to it, just delightful. And yeah, so yeah, it brings those memories back so strong, you know. So you know, my one time there, Mehera wanted to see this dance. She had seen it when she was in grade school as a child, and she had been involved in it in upper high school. And so there was one of Margaret Crass' dance students, you know, I mean, he was Brenner Mel. And so she asked him if he would do that, perform that dance. So of course he wanted to please her. So he worked it out, and it was the night before Amartini. It was the 30th. And, you know, by that time there was an amphitheater, and they had canvas on the ground, but I always used to position myself because I just wanted to see Mehera taking this. I always was angled, you know. And the actual performance was so beautiful. It was called the Dance of the Lights. And there were 4 women in pink saris and 4 in blue saris. And Dr. Ann was in it. Devana was in it. Casey. There were 8 people, you know, and they had like lamps, but it was a flashlight, but it's still, and all through the performance and across the shell, you know, the structure, little white lights. So it was just like so beautiful, so magical. And we were all sighing. We were just, it was just so incredibly beautiful. Well, it ended, And Mehera was praising it, you know, to Brenner that had worked it out. And the next day, he was leaving town. She gave him a picture of Baba, one of those that have the shellac, so it travels well, you know. And of course, she dropped it into his hand, and he was so ecstatic to get this from Mehera that the only thing I can compare it with is if you've seen a cartoon, a Walt Disney cartoon of Goofy had this habit. He could go up in the air a little and his feet would go like this. And anyway, Brenner was just ecstatic, you know, and I used to, when I'd go to tea, Mehera didn't like peanuts, so I'd take the peanuts and give them to Brenner. He had been my dance teacher. I was not a student of dance. I wasn't involved with Margaret, but still, I learned a lot from him, you know. Anyway, he had truly pleased Mehera, and she was like, wow, yeah.
Your stories are so vivid. It almost takes us, the narrative almost takes us with the thing happening right there, and
Yeah.
everybody seated at the table.
Oh, yeah. And always, I was there for 5 of Mehera's birthday, 5 birthdays for Mehera.
Wow. Jai Baba.
And they would ice the cake, and it was green. They put, because that was their favorite color. So, you know, not deep green, but like mint green and you know, I this one time I asked her if I could do a dance for her, and she said yes. And I had had a very difficult time. I had come from France, from Paris, and it was not a ooh la la time in France. It was like very challenging. And so by the time of Mehera's birthday, I was feeling better, and I was at least could talk after that. I mean, it wiped me out, Paris. You know. But she said I could do my song, my dance. I was going to sing the song she had taught Baba, Swani. And when I was doing it, I was alone on this amphitheater, and I had Jerry Edwards. He said he'd do the music for me. He had a guitar and he was wearing a turban. And I got confused because I was putting Baba's words, changing it, you know, I took on too much. And all of a sudden, Mehera, sitting in the front row, she put her hand up like, stop. And oh my God, I was just like, so I went quickly over to Jerry and I said, we have to stop. We have to stop. And he says, no, we're almost through. We're almost through. And then Gary Kleiner, if anyone knows Gary Kleiner, he shouted out, encore, encore. And I was so shocked to see her stop hand. It looked like stop, definite. And I thought, oh my God, Meryl, never let me perform for her again. I was just like crushed. So usually I would follow Mehera and the women up to the East room, but I made a beeline for the Samadhi because I thought, oh, Baba. The only thing I could think, because no one ever saw that arm go up except me, because I've asked people, did you see Mehera say stop? No, I didn't see that. So that was for me.
Thank you.
as
Thank you so
time
much.
went on, what it was, she was stopping my confusion. She was stopping my confusion. So I have to be
Wow.
really grateful because I was
Wow.
confused. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, she did me a great
That's
favor.
beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway.
There's this very sweet short story that Baba once told the Women Mandali. It's called The Yogi and the Dog. There was once a yogi who had the power to remove his intestines and wash them. One day he did this and kept them in the sun to dry. A dog saw the organs and ran away with them. Terribly upset, the yogi ran after the dog. You may think that I am exaggerating, but it is a common fact. Sorry, apologies. But it is a common feat among yogis. Such powers do not count along the path. I'm not going to give you such powers. Otherwise, you might have to chase after dogs.
Yeah, actually, so many changes. Just to have the amphitheater go up, and always, I never liked being at MRTD, but I didn't want to go home. I wanted more time in India, so I think I was at 4 MRTDs, but it was a difficult uh, thing for me. I didn't stay up all night with Erich like so many did. I was just wiped out. But it was rather magical when the pandal would go up. The sticks would come. It was like magical, like these sticks coming out of the ground, like they grew. And on Mehera's last birthday, the pandal, which is clear down to the amphitheater to protect us from the sun, it had an electrical fire and it burned off. So we were exposed to the sun. And I thought it was very symbolic because that was Mehera said it was the last time she was going to celebrate her birthday. She didn't mention that she wouldn't be around. But I know it was very hot that, we were exposed. And I also think since Mehera left, it's like Baba held back certain things that karma kind of, I know they couldn't keep Mehera on time. They couldn't keep her on time. It's Mehera, it's time. And when she left, I remember Mani saying that she was the ballast. She kept the big wheel that when it starts going real fast, she kept it from going faster and faster and faster. But when she left, it was like, yeah.
Can I ask
Share
what year did Mehera pass? She go to
1982.
Baba?
1982, I think, right?
Thank you.
No, 89.
Baba. So
Yeah, Baba
Baba.
69, Mehera 89.
What we'll do is we'll end the session with Baba's dhun, and then you can continue the chatting if you want. I'll just share the screen. One second, just 1 second.
Baba.
Meher Baba, 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 Meher Baba.
You all can unmute and we will say Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai 3 times and Jai Mehra Meher. Mandy, you can unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
Jai.
jai.
Avatar
Avatar
Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
Jai.
jai.
Avatar
Avatar
Meher
Meher
Baba ki
Baba
Jai.
ki jai.
Mehra Meher. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you, Rosalie, for your lovely stories. Thank you, Mandy, for your
Thank you.
sharing as well.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. See
Bye.
you. Tomorrow we
Yeah.
have the 7 realities meditation, which happens 7:30 a.m. EDT.
What
And
time is
5
that in London?
that would be 5. So 1 second. 4, 3, 2, 1. 12:30 noon. 12:30 afternoon. Your time.
Okay, if I can.
Every
Lovely.
Saturday. Sure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sure. All right. Okay.
Jai
See you.
Baba. Bye.
Jai Baba. Have
Thank
a
you.
lovely
Thank you.
weekend in His love.
You too. Bye.
Bye.